Hello, everybody, and welcome to the New Moon in Cancer Circle with Wild Reawakening. We are so excited to have you join us here today. This is an opportunity for us to come together as a collective and really look at the energy of the incoming moon and see how we can align, flow, and harness it so that we can move through the energy and work with it in a more productive way to bring in what we would like within our lives. So I'm Amy, and I'm an intuitive energy coach and moon circle leader. And this is something that I love coming together to do, to share the wisdom and knowledge and all the tools that I've kind of collected over the years that have really helped me in my personal life. And I feel so honored that I can come and join with you and join with my co-hosts to utilize this energy for our best and highest good. So I'm going to turn it over to my co-host Kendall, and then we also have Melissa joining us today as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Kendall with Bohemian Tarot Girl and Wild Reawakening. I focus on teaching how to access your higher intuition, your subconscious by using tarot. That's what I love to do, and I'm also a creator of the Wild. The Why am I'm having problems talking
Coming
today.
in the air today.
um, I am the creator of a tarot deck, which I love. And I'm just going to pass it over to Melissa since I'm having trouble.
Thank you. I'm afraid to talk. I'm Melissa. I am a health and wellness coach, and I just wanted to thank Amy and Kendall for inviting me to be a participant with your Moon Circle. For me, I really enjoyed just the space and the energy that you all provide with this, and the journaling. I was thinking about it for today, and just how much I was looking forward to it, and that this really, I think, helps me keep my balance. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for being here. You could tell that we are not scripted. We are very real. We are very real people. And yeah, we like to come together and utilize the space and kind of bring in all of our gifts. And we're so glad that you're able to participate. And if you aren't able to participate live, I really hope that you are able to kind of watch the replay. Those are always available every month after we do the live circle. And sometimes those are even more beneficial, even if you do watch the live, to go back and watch the replay, because then you can take your time to go through the activities and really set your intentions and call in the energy. So before we get started, we just want to take some time to set the space for the circle. And this just lets the universe and our higher selves and our spirit team know that we're getting ready to do some intentional work and to create a space without distraction. There's various ways that you can do this. You can use sound. You can use a clearing spray that has some sage or herbs or crystals in it. You can just say a little intentional prayer or saying for yourself. You can light some sage or some incense if you like. So I have my bundle of sage here, and I'm just gonna get that lit and kind of clear the space around me a little bit. This time I'll make sure that it's not still on fire when I set it down. So that happened a couple circles ago. And then as we open the circle, there's a saying that I like to say when I have my groups together, and now you are part of my group. So that is sky above, earth below, peace within. And we'll say that together 3 times. And at the end, we'll say peace within 2 more times for a total of 3. So you ready? Sky above, earth below, peace within. Sky above, earth below, peace within. Sky above, earth below, peace within, peace within, peace within. Thank you, everybody. So this new moon is in Cancer, and that is happening on July 17th, 2023 at 11:32 a.m. Pacific. So go ahead and adjust the time accordingly to wherever you are in the world. That is happening at 25 degrees Cancer. And the moon energy, if you're watching this beforehand or if you're watching it a little bit after, the moon energy is usually a 3-day energy. So we have time to go ahead and work with this. You don't have to do it at exactly the right time. New moons happen when the sun and the moon are at the same position in the sky, and that is why we cannot see the moon at that time. And we utilize this energy of the new moon to really look and focus on what we want to bring into our lives, the direction that we're going, what feels good for us, kind of make sure that we're in alignment on our path with the vision that we have for what we want to bring in. And this new moon in Cancer is such a beautiful energy, but it can also be intense. Cancer is a water sign. It is ruled by the moon. It is emotional and introspective and intuitive, and it embodies kind of the flowing energy of your emotional landscape. It's represented by the crab, and the crab has kind of a protective shell around itself. So it can go in for deep introspection. So this is a really beautiful moon for getting in touch with your emotions and getting clear on what it is that feels good to you internally, so that you can kind of harness that feeling and use that to move towards the direction of your life that you want. And during this moon, you may find, because of course there's all other kinds of aspects, and we're going to get into that in a bit with Kendall, there are so many other things that come into play, and there's always an opposition to each sign. And so part of this moon is not only recognizing what feels good to you, but also maybe where you're holding on to things that aren't meant to go with you in the journey. And so while we use new moons to set our intentions, there is an element of clearing with this one that we are going to talk about and kind of go into deeper layers with. So I'm excited for you to be on this journey with us. We're going to talk a little bit more about what all of the astrological energy is with this moon. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kendall so we can talk more.
Hey everyone, one second. I'm the driver here, so I'm just gonna pin myself. And I usually bring up the chart. What I'm going to do is just talk about some of the other pieces that are associated with this moon that's coming into play. So if you want to go into deeper depth, we do a moon forecast video where we talk about a little bit more about these points in time and these energies. So this moon is coming to us in Cancer at 24 degrees, and that is peaking at 11:32 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 2:32 p.m. Eastern Time. So just be aware of that's when the peak of the moon energy happens. It does play a role within a couple of days before and after, that we can utilize that energy and really harness it. Because this moon is really focused on those cardinal signs, and those cardinal signs are Aries, Cancers, Libras, and Capricorns. If you have any personal planet placements between 21 degrees or 29 degrees, in those signs, so that Aries, Cancers, Libra, and Capricorn, really pay attention to where it's landing in your chart and some of those messages that are coming up. This is a very important part as we kind of transition into this next season, this next cycle with it. And it really has to do with, this moon is giving us the ability to start with an emotional clean slate, to really build that safety and security that we need in order to move forward and really build on what we want, those intentions that we need to set. So I think, to me, when I look at all the aspects of this moon, it's really all about making sure that our emotional state is aligned with where we want to go. This new moon is super important. It forms a grand cross, and that's the sun, moon, Pluto, and then the lunar nodes. And I'm going to talk about those pieces in a little bit here. And that really expands the energy and makes it heightened. And I do think that people will have a tendency to have some intense emotions as we go through this. So just be really aware that, with this moon and its opposition to Pluto, which is now back into Capricorn, because it's gone retrograde in Capricorn. So just be aware of that, that there might be a little intense energies coming up with that. We also have Saturn at odds with Mars, which can also bring in a little bit of uncomfortableness in our lives. And there might be just, you might need to break the rules. You might need to move past kind of the norm and the boundaries that we set for ourselves during this time. So just be aware of that, as you move through this time. The lunar nodes, as I mentioned, they are switching, and they're switching to either entering Aries and Libra, and that's happening on that 17th, a little bit after. It's about, I think it happens at 4 o'clock, right around the 4 o'clock time frame. So just a little bit after this new moon comes in, and then we're going to have that change over with the lunar nodes, and that Aries energy, and it relates to this. It's the dragon's mouth and then the dragon's tail, which is very interesting, and it's very it's this energy of kind of a fight to move forward and to move forward on this new path. And with that, it's really starting us on this new story that we have this, 2003, we are witnessing this final eclipse in the Taurus and Scorpio axis of the nodes as we move into the Aries and Libra, nodes change over here. So just be aware that we're in this time of change, and we're in this time of realignment, and this new story is coming into play. And the nodes tie into the eclipses that we experience during this time. So just be aware of that as we come through. This is a new story, a new shift. And so it's just important to be open to that and not to dwell on losses that we might feel like we're experiencing. We never experience losses. We always are learning and growing, and it's an important part of where we're coming from. We do have Venus going into retrograde in Leo on July 22nd, and that happens from July 22nd to September 3rd. And this energy is a lot about self expression. We're going to have, a really turning point in our relationships. And this new moon is about this energy connection to our emotions and really aligning ourselves. And that includes our family and the place that we call home and how we define the home within us. And then we have this extra emphasis with this Venus energy going into this retrograde. And it's really about moving forward and really getting rid of those generational shifts that need to happen during this time. So just be aware that there can be some intense energies as we move through this week. It's not necessarily directly connected to the moon. The moon's energy is really focused on our emotional growth and really preparing us with the new seeds that we've started and wanted to move into our new path. So just realize that we're really in this huge place of transition as we come through this. And did you guys want to add anything here, or?
You mentioned, and I just want to reiterate, we go in so much further depth on all of these themes in the other video in our moon energy forecast. So if you're interested in the astrology and the energy of the planets and kind of dissecting what each of the elements are and how they relate, I would highly recommend going and looking through it. It's such a great source of information. And really, like, as Kendall was saying, so much of the energy right now is focused on closing out old cycles and moving into new cycles. And with the nodes, we haven't seen this set of nodes in 18 years. So you might want to look back at like 2004 to 2006 and see what was going on in your life back then. If you're old enough to remember, I know I am. That was a very pivotal time in my life. I know. And so looking at that for clues as to what's going to be kind of the energies that will transpire, or the parts of your chart that may be affected, because you can look at your chart and see which houses those, you have Aries and Libra, and what those nodes are going to be highlighting for you, the themes, that can be super helpful. So I know that with new moons, we always, are more future focused on the direction that we're going. But I think it's also really important at this time, especially with this moon, to recognize where we've been, how much we've grown over the process of everything that we've been through, and recognizing where we're closing out patterns and cycles and moving forward into something new. And we're not like I mentioned something in my personal posts recently about how it's not starting over from scratch. You're starting over with experience, and you have so much more wisdom and knowledge and experience and confidence in where you've been, so that you can now move forward in a much more aligned and empowered way, which I just love about the energy of this moon. So we're letting go, but we're also like spiraling up to something new. So with that, let's move into doing our oracle card reading, which is one of my favorite things. I love oracle cards, and it's always fun to kind of like see what messages the universe has for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Kendall again for our.
Yeah. So I do a tarot reading separate. So if you want to get a little bit more detailed into the messages, definitely pull that video up. It's available on basically all of our sites under our video areas here. I have the oracle deck I chose was messages from mermaids, very much connected to that watery energy. So as I shuffle here, I want you guys to pick a 1, 2, or 3, and that's going to be associated with the cards I have here. All right. If you picked card 1, we have the card of friendship here. Let me check out the messages that it has available. It just is really all about reaching out to someone and spending time with someone and making sure that you're spending time with like-minded people. I am going to post the full messages in our Facebook group, so make sure that you check that out if you want to read the full message. It's really important during this time that as you're processing your emotions, that you're really connecting with people that are able to talk with you and work through some things. Make sure that you're connecting to the right people, though, as you move through this time. This time period does have a lot of connection to, who we align ourselves with, and making sure that the people that we're, talking with and communicating with is really aligned with us as well. The second card is feelings. And it's asking you to express your feelings honestly and making sure that your emotions are really connected to the energy that you're setting into motion here. So making sure that, when we talk about feelings, and that's very much about this new moon, we want to make sure that our feelings are aligned with where we want to move ourselves forward into this new path. So if you are not connected or feel disconnected in your feelings, really sit with yourself and look at what feelings you want to connect to in order to align yourself on that new path, and what feelings that you want to release during this time. So a lot of your release work during this time might be more associated with these feelings pieces. And then the next one we have here is miracles. And with this time, especially if you're one of those cardinal signs, you can be very much gifted some beautiful things here. And so that's what really came out when we looked at the astrology energy here, is that if you're willing to step into your new path, that there are miracles in your life that will come forward. So if you chose this card, pay attention to where your cardinal signs play in your chart and really get connected with there. Look at your house, and really be open to the connection from higher self and the miracles that are coming to you. Those are my cards. So remember, 1 is friendship, 2 is feelings, and then 3 is miracles.
Perfect. Good cards, I think, for this moon.
Yes. Which ones?
And you may have resonated with more than one because it is a collective reading ultimately for all of us.
Yes. So we ask you to choose one card, but all of the cards can have meaning for you, and you can read it as a complete reading in that way. I would definitely say read the messages that are drawn to you as we post them for you, and really get connected with what it means to you. Which ones did you guys pick?
I picked miracles, which makes, yeah. And it reminded me, I know you and I, when we did the moon energy forecast video, we were talking about how when you kind of let go of resistance and holding on to old things, that things start lining up and moving forward. And then you don't have like the tarot moment or the tower moments. You know, we talked about that in the video. And so when that card came up with miracles, it just was a reminder to me that when you may not always see the way forward, but things tend to line up in such a way, and the right things will start entering your life. So you can look back and you can see how they all made sense eventually. So just keep your eyes out for the things coming in.
How about you, Melissa?
I picked 3 also.
We always pick the same ones.
Right, it came right out at me right before you even started shuffling. 333, and so I am very excited. And what's interesting for me is my rising and my sun are cardinals. So I'm an Aries sun and a Cancer rising.
Ooh.
So
So this one is very important to you. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I won't. Go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was gonna say, I don't know what's in store for me, but I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open for it.
Yes. I love that, Melissa.
I was just going to say I have a lot of cardinal energy too. I mean, my sun is in Taurus, so it's fixed, but my rising is in Libra and my moon is in Aries. So got the same elements.
Yes.
So, all right.
Well, you know, Amy.
I know. This is another, well, I mean, they're all my favorite things. This is why we do this. I just, I like bringing in all the elements that have really helped me on my journey. And one of the things that I've gotten the most impact out of as I've gone through a lot of the work that I've done is a guided meditation. And so we like to go in and kind of connect with our subconscious and our higher self, and see what messages come through in a way that you may not receive consciously. Visualization is a super powerful tool for getting deep insight into yourself and into what you really want. And so going on with the themes of this new moon, and really the theme of the year, and I keep talking about it, is that there's so much about this year that feels like we are coming home to ourselves, and really looking at maybe the places where we have left ourselves behind or have moved in directions that aren't really in alignment with our true path or what we really want. And so I just wanted to take the time to do a guided meditation to kind of reconnect with some parts of ourselves and see what comes up. If you haven't already, I would highly, highly recommend that you go onto our website and download the free moon journal that accompanies this work that we do. It has a place for you to write down all the things that come up for you and the journal questions and all of that. So I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, but it's never too late. You can do it afterwards and go through again and really connect with all of that. And it's good to document, because I guarantee you'll look back in 6 months or in a year when this cycle has completed and look at where you were when you were writing down all of this information and what was coming up for you, and see how you progressed since then. So let's go ahead and I invite you to kind of find a comfortable space to settle in. And let's see. Go ahead and start this guided meditation. So go ahead and get comfortable. And you can either be seated or lying down. Go ahead and close your eyes and bring awareness to the breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and let it out through your mouth with a sigh. Again, deep breath in through your nose. A deep exhale through your mouth with a sigh. Now notice where the breath travels to, trying to direct it to the belly. Breathing in with your full lung capacity. And as you breathe, go ahead and let it settle in into a natural rhythm. And begin to look inward to your inner space of peace, calm, silence, and stillness. Now visualize yourself seated beneath an open, velvety night sky. As you see yourself, gaze up, you notice the stars, how bright they shine, especially compared to the new moon, which is translucent and hidden on this evening. The stars twinkle and glisten above you. And you notice one in particular outshining the rest. This star is sending beacons of starlight across the sky. It seems to be coming towards you. Envision this bright starlight emerging out from your heart center. Gradually, it grows bigger, offering this bright light to the world around you. At the same time, you notice a bright light pouring in from the top of your head that is coming from above, in through the crown of your head. And you breathe in, and you feel the starlight pouring in from your crown. And as you breathe out, you feel the starlight emerging outward from your heart. Breathing in, the light flows into you. Breathing out, your light radiates outwards. Breathing in and breathing out. And feeling this light within you is the spark of life that is always within. Find this spark as it radiates through your entire being out through your heart center. This is your life force, your personal energy that is responsible for all you do and who you are. Feel the stillness of this energy within you. Feel the stillness at the very center of your being. It is still, but so alive, so vibrant. Your inner current your personal frequency. You have so much you can give. On this new moon, it is the best time energetically to connect with yourself, to connect with spirit, to connect with your purpose, to connect with your deepest desires. And as you think about that, you begin to understand what your personal, deepest, and truest desires are. Think about the things you would like to bring into and manifest in your life. Think about something you would like to bring about. Think about what feels good and true to your soul. Think about the direction and the path forward that feels most in alignment. You can speak these intentions to yourself in your mind now. Feel these words emanating, projecting outwards. Why do you want this to be a part of your life? Or why do you want your life to be this way? What emotions will this bring about in you? How will it make you feel? Take some time and let that emotion, that feeling, encompass you completely and entirely. Feeling that emotion radiating through you and emitting the frequency outward. You are connected. You are aligned. You are harnessing your gifts. You are moving towards your purpose. You are uncovering the deepest parts of yourself. Now, as we get ready to return, feel that you can stay here, setting your intentions and manifesting it into the world as long as it feels right to you. When you do choose to leave, do so with a deep sense of knowing that all that you already want to manifest is already yours. When you are ready, come back into your heart center and feel the light from the stars radiating. Feel the energy of the new moon as it pours through the sky towards you. Know that you are part of all of it. Go ahead and connect with your breath. Feel your body as it is sitting down or laying down at the ground beneath you. And when you are ready, go ahead and start wiggling your toes, your fingers, and open your eyes. All right, everyone, welcome back. Take a little bit of time to kind of recenter and ground yourself a bit. This is one of those things where you may have had some pretty deep insights. And so I would highly recommend taking some time at the end of this to journal about whatever came up for you And those are always some really insightful promptings. Now, with that, and this, we always do this guided meditation because it leads us into the journal prompts that we're going to do. Because there may have been things that come up for you. And as we go through the journal prompts, you can see, oh, well, this is how it relates. And we also take this time, we respond to these journal prompts as well. And the reason we do that is not to just give you our thoughts on things, but it creates a conversation, and you may find that listening to how other people process these, journal prompts, it gets your own mental process and emotional process and flowing and considering some options or some things that you may not have considered yourself. So it's really a wonderful group activity. And if you would ever at any time want to leave comments, you can join our Facebook group, the Wild Reawakening Moon Circle group. And that has an opportunity for you to kind of share and bring in some of your own thoughts into this work as well. So, ready, Kendall? Ready, Melissa?
Let's jump in with that first question. And this is available through the downloadable workbook. I'd highly recommend that you do that piece. Amy mentioned it before. These cycles come up and you'll want to go back and look at these things, look at your responses here and see how you've changed or what has come up with you. So it's really important to record these pieces in this process. And this moon is so important with everything going on, that it's clearly a message that you would want to look further into. So the first one we have here is, how do you protect what is sacred within you? Who wants to go first?
That's a big question.
It really is.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that is recognizing what's sacred within you. And once you recognize it and you realize how important that is to your own well-being and to who you are, it's a lot easier to decide to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's really maintaining my own energy field. And that's something that it took me a long time to learn how to do. And I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I've had a lot of practice on recognizing what's mine and what isn't. And that my own energy field, I'm in control of that, and no one can affect it unless I give them access. And that's, it's yours, it belongs to you, it's your superpower. And once I recognized that and learned how to kind of remove a lot of the outside noise, to maintain my own sense of personal peace and what was important to me, it really created like a sense of peace and sense of sacredness within myself that I was able to really hold on to a lot better.
Yes. For me, it's definitely my intuition and my choices that I make, as well as the emotions that are associated with it. And I definitely feel that, you can kind of attract other people's energy and those emotions that can actually come and stay within you. And so being very careful about making sure that I'm releasing other people's energy when I come into contact with them, that I'm not carrying around the burdens or their emotions or even their expectations of me, and making sure that those are not dwelling within me, and that I'm always going from my own body and my own higher source. And really, how I do that is, a lot of times I come into contact with people who have very intense feelings or emotions. And when I come out of that situation, I really sit back. And a lot of times I will feel that emotion, right? If somebody's very upset, you can feel it within yourself. And I just go ahead and release it. And I use the white light. So I imagine white light coming from my heart center and just moving through my body in just a gentle flow. And then I just walk away and move on. And so that's how I really keep those pieces sacred in my life.
That's a great question. And this is what I love about these journal prompts. And I do keep a record of them so that I can go back, but trying to identify what is sacred. I had to write that down in my journal because that for me is something I had never really thought about. And it's a really big, important question that I want to ponder further. But that being said, I do know for me how I would protect that. What came to mind immediately was downtime and alone time, just because I know those are so important for recharging myself. So I would imagine that's recharging what's sacred to me. And also what came to mind after hearing you both speak, I think a sense of calmness is sacred to me. And I think this is going to tie into empowerment as well. But just taking the time to go off alone and whatever I'm doing during that time, whether it be reading, meditation, looking into other or journaling, that's the piece. Or it's just being out in nature alone for me. Even it's not even doing anything in that sense. So that's how I protect myself.
Yeah. Just from my conversations with you, Melissa, I know you do a lot of like grounding activities. And so I could see that is definitely a protection in yourself to realign that. All right. The next one here is a little bit long. And once again, these are in the workbook for you. So, what have you been putting effort into that no longer feels in alignment? Um, what would it feel like, or how would things shift if you let that go? So, is there something that you've been focused on that's not working, that you don't feel that's in alignment? And how do you feel about letting that go?
For me, this question is unsettling because I have an answer and I'm not ready to admit it to myself yet.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's professionally, and there's many components to what I do professionally. And this particular piece, I've been thinking, yeah, how important is it to me? Not how important is it to me, but is it no longer aligning with where I want to go? And the hard part about that is it's something I've put so much time and effort into and really am proud of and thought it was a direction for me. And so now thinking, is this something I want to let go? Is hard to admit, and it's scary because what's next? But I think that fits right into what you were saying with the nodal change. And when I look back at myself, last time we were here in 2004 and 6, it was a significant change for me, professionally and personally. So yeah, so it's really, I think I'm gonna have to sit with that and bring it to that next piece of the question of what will that open up for, right?
Mhm. Yeah, if you're willing to consider that as a path. I think
Yeah.
that's what we have a tendency to do is block ourselves from even the
Mhm.
allowing it to come through, right?
Mhm.
I like that, Melissa. I'm excited to see where you're go.
Do you want to go first, Kendall, or should I?
Sure. I mean, I feel like my life for a long time has been in limbo a lot. And there are pieces in my life that I'm able to easily let go of. Like you, Melissa, there is some places where I don't feel quite ready maybe to let things go. And I'm open to the natural process. So I don't feel I've done a lot of work feeling not necessarily tied to an outcome in where I'm going, in the path that I'm going, even though I know, I've kind of set like some intentions to where I want to go. So I think it just is me being aware of what is being brought to me. And I think that's the work that I've been focusing on a lot lately, working with you, Melissa, is really focusing on what messages are coming to me, making sure that I'm cognitively aware of the messages that are coming to me and kind of guiding me where I need to go. Um, I'm I feel like I'm willing, like my soul and my intuition is willing to let go of things when it comes. time for me to let go of it. And so I'm aware of what I would like, I think, where it needs to shift in my life. And I'm ready to take that step forward. So, and definitely like my living, if you want to know where that aligns with my living and some pieces of my work that I do. So, and my life.
Everything has been in such flux, right? It's been like all these holding patterns.
Yeah.
All around for everybody. um, for me, there's a couple different things that popped up with this. And if you've been following us or you know me personally, like my whole life has been in transition for the past year. And what has come up during that time in particular is that I'm really noticing the more that I kind of come back to myself and reclaim my own direction and what where I have like overexerted my own energy in other places is that there are a lot of relationships in my life and I don't just mean romantic, but in work and in family and friendships um, that have been really imbalanced. And a lot of people in my life who have kind of benefited off of that imbalance because relationships and the people in my life are so incredibly important to me that I find that I overcompensate to let people know that I love and care about them and to show up for them. And I'm starting to recognize those relationships that that's not a reciprocal energy. And so being willing to let those go is extremely difficult. But also, like, I really think that I'm at a point where I'm noticing how important it is to have people in my life who are able to be supportive and who do want to show up and who want the best for me and who want to support growth and be there emotionally. And, we talked about in the moon energy video, a lot of this moon is being able to let go of those things so that we can create space for something new to come in. And so I have to look at it as that, like, these relationships served a purpose. They showed me things that I needed to see. And maybe I was there to be there for somebody else, but it's time to kind of like let those evolve too and create space for more correct relationships to come in that are reciprocal. The other thing that came up with this is been doing a lot of work, and I know that a lot of you can probably relate to this on imposter syndrome and how that can prevent you from moving into your work or the parts of your life where you do have more empowerment and can show up in your most authentic way. And I'm noticing that there are a lot of old stories that I had created about who I was and what I was allowed to do and how I was allowed to show up that are no longer true. And it's time to start letting them go. So those are some other some other fun things to work.
Yes, Amy, I know.
Yeah.
So the third question is, when you envision your most empowered self, what does that look like to you? I
I
think,
guess I can go first again.
yeah, go for it. Yeah.
um, my most empowered self. So this is something that I'm starting to recognize more and more. And I've talked about it before is like sometimes you have to kind of like dip your toe in a little bit to see what that feels like so that you can like get into your knees and then get into your hips. Because it's scary when you start becoming that person. So when I think of my most empowered self, it is someone who is confident in their abilities and who is not worried what other people think and is has a sense of safety and security enough in who they are so that they don't let their fears get the better of them as they make decisions and move forward and show up. So we're I'm working on that
I
too.
love it. I feel very much the same way. Finding, the safety and security within yourself. I think that is really all about being empowered, is that you don't have to seek your emotional needs, your spiritual needs, anything to validate yourself basically from other people. And I think that is being truly empowered by yourself, right? And really knowing when to receive a message and what messages to take from your higher self. I think that for me is being someone that listens to themselves is really about being empowered. So that's my response.
Yeah. I mean, like just for an example, 3 years ago, I was terrified to get on camera
Yes.
and
I
talk.
remember that.
And Kendall knows because she was there, because she invited me to do it the first time. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And so it took actually proving to myself that I could, to get to a place where I was more comfortable. And then from there, it's like you can get into doing more and more and more until you're really like, this is who I am. And I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. It was always there. I didn't see it yet. So that's
And now you're awesome at it. You're always awesome at it.
but I had to dip my toe in, and
Yes.
get comfortable and recognize that it was something I could do. And I think, just to go on with that, is that there's so many people who let their fears get the better of them that they don't even ever realize what they're capable of. So stop telling yourself you can't do things.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Melissa?
Well, Amy, I think you have a beautiful presence on camera. So, for me, it's everything you've both said, with the confidence and embracing who we are, having the confidence to do that without question, and really, it right for me, it's that, as you both mentioned, internally, right, getting our validation internally, embracing and not being afraid to allow all my quirkiness out, and not apologize for it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that's been a really long and difficult journey for me to have the confidence to do that. And so, right, if I could have my current self speak to my younger self, would be, don't let that stop you. There's so many things I think I missed out on because of those fears, and those fears were really about how would I be perceived by others. And it's unfortunate. So a new philosophy for me has been really running my life on not wanting regret. So, right, so dipping your toe and taking those chances. And for me, what I've started doing is, in my current role where I work, is a leadership role, and that's that imposter syndrome as well, and really believing it. And so I started putting some things out. One of them is a presentation. I'll be presenting at a leadership and higher ed conference. So, I'm like, this is huge for me, but I have to say, well, they accepted my proposal, so there must be something there. But right, these are the stories we tell ourselves to not move forward. And what's the worst that could happen? No one shows up, or it's awful, but I'm sure I'll wake up the next day to live another day. And I will have tried it.
You'll be great. Don't even worry. I love that, Melissa. You're gonna rock it.
Thank you.
All right. Question 4. What do you need to let go of in order to create space for what truly belongs? So we're often so busy and we fill our lives. And this is interesting because this actually, when we kind of came up, Amy had looked into old questions that we had used in moon circles prior, and this was an important one that we brought forward. So I had already met with you, Melissa, and that was a lot about our conversation, was about how you asked me to think about how I wanted my life in this, if there was nothing no financial commitments, no anything we're worried about. What would it look like to myself? And a lot of it came back to the ability to have time. And so we do have to think about when we're trying to create something, we do have to find time to create it. So I think that's this question is so important because if you want to create something new in your life, you have to find the space in order to do it. Um, so, does anyone want to talk about what they want to create and what they're willing to let go of in order to bring that in?
I think this ties into the past three questions also.
Yeah, it
Have
does.
all been leading to this in many ways. And that, what I would love to create for myself would be just a sense of calmness and serenity, because I'm not often that way. I can really be quick to act, quick to react, and knowing the people in my life that are calm, I really admire that, and how you can, sit back and listen to someone without verbally interrupting them and having your thoughts know, things like that. So I would just like to create that more loving, calming peace for myself. And in order to do that, I really need to let go of negative thoughts and expectations, I think, and just be able to experience as is. That's what I have.
This is a lot like leading up from the other ones. And I think for me, a lot of, I posted a quote in our group recently. I love quotes, as you all know. And it was something like, I want to wake up every day and feel thankful for the life that I created for myself. And so when I think about the life that I want to create for myself, in order to do that, and I have been actively doing that for a long time, but it keeps evolving into something else. Um, but I am in this creation process right now, and um, one of the things that I feel is my biggest uh, uh, source of resistance in moving forward is this expectation I have of myself that if I'm going to do something, I have to do it perfectly. And it's really a distraction and an excuse to not act if I can't do it exactly how I want to, and if I can't make it as professional as I want it to be, and if I can't like create it in this vision of perfection that I seem to have. And it's funny because I don't necessarily consider myself a perfectionist, but when I'm kind of putting myself out into a more public space, and I'm talking about like doing my work and what that's going to look like, because my work and my life um, are so intertwined, and for a lot of people I don't think that that's necessarily something that they should have intertwined, but um, my work is something that I feel is so much of my purpose for being here. um, and so when I'm getting ready to put these pieces of myself and my creations out into the world, I have such a high expectation that I hold of how I want them to be received and how I want them to be presented that I get caught up in the details, which creates this inability to even do anything. So that is a huge part of what I need to let go of in order to create the life that I want.
I like it. I definitely experience the same thing. I have an idea of what I want and I want it to be perfect and put out there perfectly. And I just have to let that go. Um, for me, it's definitely more of creating physical time. And so I think there are pieces of some of the work that I do that I need to let go of in order to create that space. So mine is very much more of like tangible, you know what I mean? It's less about connected to my emotion, and mine's like a physical. I need to actually remove a couple pieces of my work because I want to create something new. And so I need to take those pieces out, thank them and let them go in order to be able to kind of move along and create that space for the next version of what I'm kind of trying to achieve. So for me, that's really where I'm kind of focusing on as far as letting go, is figuring out those pieces, which I don't really want to let go. So
Yeah.
that's hard too. So those are our questions. Anything you guys want to add before we kind of jump into the quick activity? No? All right. So I'm going to pin myself really quick here to the screen, and I'm going to talk about our activity and associated with the new moon. And it is, if you can get just a piece of paper here, fold it into an even third. I recommend, if you want to incorporate the water element for the moon, if you have or can get access to watercolor pencils, I would highly recommend doing that. And I was going to talk about during this time on that first panel that we have right here. You're going to take a second, close your eyes, and I want you to think about your mother and your connection to your mother. And you can think about, if wounds come up, things that from your childhood that held you back. And I want you to go ahead and just let yourself freeform create an image about it. It doesn't need to be artistic. It can be a symbol that comes to you. So if you're sitting here and a symbol pops to your mind, go ahead and write that in. In that middle section there, I want you to think about the transition period, about the ability for you to let it go. When I think about it, the symbol that came up for me was a bridge, and it's a bridge into that final little compartment there. And you're going to think about the self that you want to become. You're going to think about where you want to move into, the path that you want to start afresh when you leave behind that past self and those wounds that you carry. So really focus in on the symbols that are naturally brought to you. A lot of you can do intuitive drawing. Just go ahead and let your hand draw and move whatever you want. And when you look at the images, really spend time to see what comes to you. And you can do that by writing down some messages that you have. Really just get connected, use that creative side, that intuition side that you have with this moon, and see what symbols come to you. And see if they come to you throughout this next week that you have here. See if you see them in the world that you walk around in. And that's a quick activity. If you want directions very specifically, it'll be in the workbook there for you on how to do it. So
Great activity. All right, everybody. So this is where we kind of conclude our circle, and I hope that you have enjoyed your time here with us. I know that we've really enjoyed having you, and we would love to connect with you in a group at Wild Ray Awakening Moon Circle. And yeah, so I hope that this new moon is very insightful and reflective, and that you can be gentle with yourself and recognize what feels good for you and the direction that you want to move in, and really create some intentions around the path that you are stepping onto as we continue on the second half of this year. And when the nodes are switching, because that's an 18-month process. So that's going to be a big cycle as well. So we'll go ahead and close out now. I want to thank Melissa for being here. It's always good to have your insight and your participation, and Kendall, my co-host, which we do a lot of things together, who gets me out of my comfort zone on a regular basis. And so we'll go ahead and close the way that we opened. So sky above, earth below, peace within. And when you're ready, sky above, earth below, peace within. Sky above, earth below, peace within. Sky above, earth below, peace within, peace within, peace within. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful Cancer new moon.
bye, everyone.